I think we are all ready. Good morning to everyone. So thanks for joining us today. Also our online participants. It's nice to see you. It's a great day for us, a good opportunity for us to present our project here. An honor, of course. So we have a strong team here with 4 of us being present. Maybe just first telling the name of our project, Supermentor, training Supermentors to activate job seekers with migration background. So our focus of mentoring is really on migrants and mentoring to work. So just we are focusing on this in our project. And let me introduce our team. First, 4 of us are here. So I'm Fatih Yilmaz from Beyond the Horizon. And then we have Peter just next to me from HIVA, and Lisbeth also from HIVA, and Katrin from Life Pro Coach. So we are all partners in this project. And today's agenda will be starting with the societal challenge we would like to address and the gaps, and our solution as an output and target group, our methodology, and our training as a solution, how we built it and how we are implementing it at the moment. So, and at the end, we would like to open up some discussion with some questions, and we would like to also exchange some ideas and learn from your practice. Starting from the challenge, so it's a general challenge that we already know. The unemployment rates, the low unemployment rates in Belgium, also in other countries, among the migrant groups. And mentoring is a tool for activation. It's a promising tool, but the mentoring programs have different challenges, and one of these challenges is having a good mentor training, right? We already know, and we have already discussed that quality is really important for mentoring programs, and training, a good qualified training, is also one of the elements of the quality. So it's a gap. There's a need for mentoring tools, need for intercultural competences for mentors, and also for some coaching skills maybe, and digital competences. And so there's a need for a good online, good training. And at the pandemic time, and also the current situation, people tend to do trainings more online. It's more flexible, so it's really difficult to bring people together at the same time, and most of them are also volunteers. So these are all some challenges, and we have seen that there's a need for a good online training, accessible and qualified, and which is not available in Belgium to mentoring programs. So our output as a solution is an online mentor training, accessible, qualified, affordable, feasible, and also accredited and certified, if we can. Our target groups are mentors, mostly volunteers, who are supporting migrants to find a job. And also mentor codes, and also mentoring programs, and maybe with some of our training can also target mentees as well, so migrant job seekers. Our methodology, so we have developed a methodology to develop our training. So we aim to start with a needs analysis. So what are the needs of mentors first. Then we aim to design the learning. How should this learning, how this training should be in different aspects. And then, based on the design, we develop content. Then we put this content into a technical design, and then we implement and test it, and then improve it during the project. And at the end of the project, then we have a good training ready for mentors and mentoring organizations. So our partnership, we have a Flemish partnership of 3 organizations here in the Horizon, Coach for Life and Kaulev and Hiva. And then we also have transnational partners from Finland, Portugal and Denmark. And our Danish partners are also with us today. Thank you. Kave Info. And we also have stakeholders, so a large group of stakeholders who are supporting us with content development, with testing, with advice, and also some technical support. So we are now still within the project testing and implementation phase, but we are still improving and developing the content as well at the same time. So it's an agile process. It's going very complicated, but we are doing well. So the first step, so needs analysis. So it was our partners, Hiva, Kauleven is a research institute. They made a research to find out the needs. So then I give the word to Hiva Lisbeth for the needs analysis. Yes.
Okay, you can go to the next slide. Maybe Fadi already said it. It's a mentor training for mentoring to work. So that's the specific context we are working in. I already know some faces, and I know they're specialized in mentoring, in youth mentoring, or child mentoring, or student mentoring. But this is something that is relatively new. Peter already said it in the plenary session. So I think it might be interesting just to give you the definition of what mentoring to work is. It's actually a definition Peter developed with a colleague of mine, because I think it's important to keep in mind when we start to talk about the content of our training. So I'm just going to read it word by word. Mentoring to work is a person with more experience, the mentor, who provides guidance to a less experienced person, the mentee, with the aim of supporting the mentee to make sustainable progress towards the labor market. And to this end, both mentor and mentee commit themselves voluntarily to have contact on a regular basis. And the relationship is initiated, facilitated, and supported by a third actor, so the mentoring organization. And the relationship, although it's asymmetrical, it's also reciprocal in nature. So that's the definition of mentoring to work. That's the context we're talking about when we are talking about our mentor training. So I think Fadi already said a lot of things. Mentoring to work in Belgium is really on the rise, especially since during the aftermath of the refugee crisis in 2015, our public employment services, they already have tools to target a specific group of newcomers to integrate them into the labor market. But as our research has shown, those tools are not sufficiently enough. So mentoring to work can be something that is really of a high potential for this target group. So that's the broad context of the Supermentor project, because as Fadi said, training is an important quality element that can improve how mentors are performing in the mentoring relationship. So you can give the next slide, and it's something that's really familiar to you because you saw it already. And I'm going to talk to you about the needs analysis, which was the first step in developing this training. First step, you should think we would start with a really simple question. You can see it. What should a mentoring to work training ideally include to provide good support to prospective mentors? But it wasn't that simple because mentoring to work is relatively new. There is hardly any academic research done on this topic, let alone on what are needs of mentors, what about training, and so on. So we had to be very creative doing this. We were really scraping the surface, which I really loved because it's actually pioneering, starting from scratch. So you know the feeling you have to go somewhere and route A is blocked and you need to think about another route. That's what happened with us. So we kind of adjust our question. And we thought, okay, there are already mentoring programs that have trainings, that have developed guidelines. So maybe we should have a look at these guidelines to be inspired and think about our own training. So the adjusted question became, which topics are covered in already existing mentor trainings? And you can see it well, it's mentor trainings. This is not just mentoring to work. We just took a very broad perspective on this, just youth mentoring, mentoring for nurses, whatever I could find, I was happy with it. Okay, next slide. We've consulted several different sources, and the first one was a brainstorm session with our project stakeholders. So Patti already introduced our project stakeholders, and I see Beatrice smiling from Keva Info because you probably also had a part in this brainstorm session. And it was just like, okay, let's think about us as mentors. What do we want to know? What do we expect from this training? So just putting things on post-its and start talking about it. That was the first step. The next step was a limited literature review, really quick scan, because I only have about maybe 2 months time to do all of this, so yeah, not a lot of time. It's academic literature, articles, but I also looked at mentor trainings both at the national and international level, and again, not solely mentoring to work projects, but just everything. I looked at their websites, I started looking for annual reports, even started looking for testimonials from mentees, because I thought, okay, if they say I really appreciated my mentor stimulating me or motivating me or helping me to write a CV, I thought, okay, that might also be something that could be useful for a mentor training. So you see, I took a really broad perspective on this. We also did some interviews with representatives of national and international mentoring to work projects. And in a final step, our touchstone step, we resorted to our learning network. So maybe I should explain what our learning network is. It's a group of Flemish mentoring to work organizations, some of which have already well-established mentoring to work projects as do for a job. We presented something earlier today, but also some projects who are just new and just were like, okay, mentoring to work, how do we do that? In this learning network, we brought these organizations together in the context of another research we were doing. It's a research on qualitative and effective mentoring practices for newcomers. So we thought, okay, we just asked them questions about training. What's important in a training for you? What do you know from your own practice that mentors appreciate or want to learn more about? And I just also presented everything that I found so far to them. I was like, okay, this is what I found. I think these are some of the elements of a future mentor training. Do you agree or don't you agree? Are there things lacking? These are also questions we're going to ask you later on today. So that was it. Shortly, it was about gaining insights, being inspired, bringing together all this information into a source document. And I'm going to tell about the source document after the slides. And then it was a really big, elaborate document, too big for Fatih and Katrien to work with. So I needed to go to the essence of it. And not just the essence of it, but the essence of the essence of the essence. It's like orange. That was it. So the last step, distilling the core components. So this is an extract of the source document. And as I said, it was a really elaborate document. I think maybe 10-page long document. This. So what did I do? These are all the sources that I've consulted, and there are even more sources, but it didn't fit the slide. And all of the sources I numbered, so that I knew, okay, this is number 1, this is number 2, it's an interview, it's an article, whatever. So the source document starts with this, and then, yeah, the next slide. This is an example of what is in the source document. So when I went through all this information, I was like, okay, I see some things relating to the introduction to mentoring. And what is the introduction to mentoring? I try to make it more and more concrete. So in some of these sources, as you see the numbers, they mentioned something on what is mentoring or what is the purpose of mentoring. And some of these sources were even more concrete. They stated what is the definition of mentoring, or they gave an overview of all those features that distinguish mentoring from coaching, befriending, buddying, and other sources. So that's actually what I've done, and it's about introduction to mentoring, but it's also about core competencies that mentors should have. It's about, in our specific context, because we're working with migrant people, about equality and diversity. It's about the relationship and the process of the relationship, how to do that, what do they need to know and to be able to do. So that's an example of it. Maybe the next slide. Then we go to the squeezing of the orange. So this is the result, the thing that I gave to Fatih and Katrine. So it's a starting point from which they could start building the content and the learning design. So I'm not going to go into detail in all of this because we will come back in Fatih's presentation. But maybe in the left side for you, on the top it's